Welcome back, HardForkers. Fantastic show for you today. Wave to the audience, HardForkers. We've got a full crew here. Why is there a full crew of HardForkers? Because I'm very, very interested to come along and have a chat with Vesa and Matty. So firstly, Vesa, probably very well known to many of our audience. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you so much. Always good to see you and privileged to be in such esteemed company. Good to be with you, Matty, again, and see all of you guys. It's always fun.
Excellent. So we're going to get to the amazing things that you have been up to and are currently up to in a moment, Vesa. But Matty, first time on the channel, so welcome along, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if you could, couple of minutes, just tell our channel about who you are and what you do in the space.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me, first of all. Basically, I started in crypto mid-August and bought some Neo and moonboyed my way from like $10 to $40, and I thought that's what crypto was. You buy and basically ride the wave and hopefully get rich on the way. And then as I learned the space a little bit more, fell into the NFT rabbit hole and realized that there's a lot more that can be done with blockchain and all that. So learned the tech, and then fell across, a couple of projects like Decentraland, the art space, Gods Unchained, and realized, these NFT things seem really exciting, seem really awesome. So I've been in the space trading NFTs, trying to analytically find a good way to invest in them, expose myself to that industry somehow. And been very active the last 2 to 3 years, blogging about it on YouTube. And hopefully you've seen some of my content if you're in the NFT space, but really immersed in it, and met people like Vesa doing really good things in the art space, and here to see it grow.
Excellent. So Vesa, I watched a podcast you did the other day with Ken Bozak, which was fantastic. I'll put a link below to that for you people. Encourage you to watch it. But you're up to some amazing things, brother. So over to you. If you could tell us what's happening in your world.
Well, this has been quite an exciting time, starting from maybe if some of your audience might be a little bit already familiar with my story, but going back, I kind of 12 years ago, I started this whole new way of doing digital portraiture. Like, let's say if traditional portraiture started eroding a little bit when photography became to be a thing. And then now, of course, with selfies, it's eroded even further. And if you think of something like old age portraiture, it's quite irrelevant to most people in many ways. So what I came up with was to body paint people, tell their stories, and allow them to access the space inside of them that would be some sort of a peak experience, so to speak, and then photograph as that happens, photograph the oil paintings that I did on the side, and put it all together with Photoshop that then turned into these high resolution digital art pieces already quite some time ago. And of course, I've waited for a long time for the NFT space to become a real thing. So now that all of this work that I've done before, and of course it can be evolved in even further, has become a viable market force, because there's now digital scarcity due to all these blockchain solutions. And one of the projects that I did, probably I'm most well known in the mainstream space, was that I body painted this Bollywood actress called Veena Malik. And we reached a lot of people with that project, and we actually managed to change some of the cultural foundations of a segment of society on a global scale. And that was it was a fantastic privilege to be a part of such a process. And for 7 years after this project, I've been waiting to meet someone of a similar caliber who would be open enough and courageous enough to embark upon a similar kind of project with me again. And as many people are aware of the Cambridge Analytica story of what happened, and Brittany Kaiser, who's the whistleblower of this project. I mean, it was conservative estimate, something again like 50, 60 million people at least, who had their data strip mined from Facebook and influenced elections and Brexit and all of these different kind of campaigns that this little think tank and startup was sort of made aware of a much bigger problem in data. And now we're building a studio with this company called Koloro in Helsinki that is from floor to ceiling printed for my works, with couches and benches and table, everything to match. So we're making our little Narnia in which to make these kinds of projects. And I'm so happy to say that Brittany Kaiser, whose Netflix documentary, The Great Hack, currently has something like an insane amount of views, something like 100 million, is going to be the very first guest who will arrive, Corona permitting, at the end of January to Helsinki to do this process with me, which we will then, when we have the works ready, we will go to London to do a red carpet affair that continues to New York. But of course, because a lot of these works are going to be digital releases as NFTs, it'll be a metaverse event as well. So there's many moving parts to this whole story. It's been super exciting, but also going on with very little sleep at the moment.
Excellent. So we'll go from right to left here. Stefano, if you want to unmute yourself, we'll start with the question from Yusuf for Vesa.
Vesa, obviously, I'm a Vesa holder, so I'm very happy with that. Thank you as well for like doing the airdrops and all the games and so on. Well, first of all, the project seems like huge, like enormous, huge. How much of a challenge is going to be for the people that are actually like going to meet you in person, that might not know you or might not know the NFTs? How much of a challenge, in your opinion, is going to be like to kind of explain to those individuals that there's going to be like the digital part, the digital heart, and kind of like trying to make them understanding that, you know, this is something new, that is like the new wave of heart in the specific case, and like also a possible movements of, you know, free information, democracy, and et cetera on that side.
Thank you. First of all, it's a brilliant question. The challenge really is that Brittany really is in a crux point of so many interesting things for this whole space. Considering its big data, its Facebook, its kind of a lot of controversy of what happened with that whole thing, being a whistleblower and being so well known in the mainstream. But then, of course, she's now working on the Brock Pierce presidential campaign. So bridging together politics, big data, and blockchain. And the kind of, she runs and co-founded this organization called Own Your Data Foundation. And basically, she's campaigning for us to reverse the ideology in order for us to understand that our data is valuable. It's more valuable than crude oil at the moment. It's $1 trillion industry. And we're just, for the most part, happily giving away all the data that we have to be strip mined out of us. And this is, the Great Hack documentary makes a very good case and illustrates it very well in how to do that. And what we have an opportunity to do is to, with this substance, take it even further and make it even into NFTs, of course. So the plan is to tell in video form, record some of this art, not only in stills that become these sort of elaborate layered pieces, but also something that can utilize video and audio and many different kinds of storytelling devices that are then minted as NFTs, telling this content in multiple different forms. But when she arrives to Helsinki, and of course we'll be doing a lot of podcasts and trying to already now start to tell people what this whole thing is about, but then make a mini documentary. She'll be traveling with someone who's going to document the whole process. So we're first going to put together a mini documentary that will be then shown both online and at the premiere in London, illustrating the whole journey of what we've put together and how it was put together and what it's all about. And then we'll just keep evolving that. We'll record the London event, we'll record the Metaverse event, and then when we go to New York, it's all recorded and put together into a package. And of course, we're already sending over sponsorship packages, to various companies in order for them to help us do this, because this is not going to be a cheap process. We're aiming to get something like $120,000 together, so that we're all the animations and travel and budgets, and this is an incredibly elaborate thing, and we're aiming to make it a success. And there's many different ways that people can participate into this already. So we do really need the whole community to become a part of this, so it can become NFT history, essentially. This has been the plan for me all along for some time, is to get blockchain companies and well-known individuals to come together in these art projects that bridge easily over to the mainstream in order to get more people into this ecosystem. And I think these are the most valuable sort of art collaborations that we can do. And the big picture here is that the studio is being built for that specific reason, is that we make this collaboration now with Brittany, and maybe it's a Chinese star next time after her that I'm going to do a collaboration with, and that's supported by a different company or companies. And then we got to, again, record it in Helsinki and then take it over to Shanghai or something to be launched. Awesome. And this is a continued process from here on out. So it's so often art can become just an insular little bubble of its own and become quite elitist and nonsensical even to a degree. So this reverses the whole idea of that to go to where people are in order to not propagandize of what's going on, but to just illustrate that this is what is possible and this is what this story is about. And of course, Brittany's own personal stories, there's so much fragility. There's human story of going from not having any money, needing a job, going from naive activism to becoming completely on a different side politically, and then kind of doing this whole return and to independence of some sorts. There's so much substance in this whole thing that I really do hope it inspires a lot of people in this community to come and help us make this possible.
Brilliant. Jesse, I'll let you jump in then.
You know, I have a couple of friends that I met in the past year who are by far the most talented artists I've ever personally met. It turned out once I added one of them on Instagram, my brother-in-law all the way in California was following him, and I messaged him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've been following those guys for years. I love them. I can't believe you know them." And then when I actually brought up NFTs and just this whole concept to them not too long ago, and I mean, I think they were aware that there was something to do with digital connecting to art. I mean, you know, they really had no idea. And my question would be, if they're not really into crypto, and who knows, if they might even be slightly technologically, unadvanced, but A, do you think it's worth it for them to kind of delve into this, or for me to help them delve into this? And B, is being an artist just an artist? Are you qualified enough to get into this kind of NFT kind of world? Or do you actually have to be kind of into crypto and Bitcoin and whatnot for it to even make sense?
Again, a brilliant question. Truly, it's something that has become quite a complex thing to answer, but let me try. Because basically, one thing that you will notice right now, if you go to the Wikipedia page of crypto art, is that you'll see that it's all about the platforms and some sort of a time succession, and it's basically become art that is tokenized and sold on these platforms. It's become a very commercial venture, whereas in fact, originally what it started as, and I still consider coming in relatively late to a certain degree, even though there was only maybe about 5 of us who were serious artists who came in around halfway through 2017, or had been there at that time, who had careers and had been selling art for some fair amount of money. And basically it was such an exciting thing, because I became a money activist in 2005 around is when I started sharing on my Facebook page documentaries about the monetary system, of how the fiat system works and all those kinds of things. And I paid a fairly heavy price in my personal life being an entrepreneur and a money activist at the same time, because it means that you have your foot on the brake and the gas pedal at the same time. It's just, it's not a very cohesive headspace in so many different ways. So what the crypto space really means for me is that for the first time, probably in our monetary history, there has been an army of artists who are giving content and substance in order to try and help people understand of why our monetary system is in a crisis and what the solutions might be to it. And most importantly, the solutions. But now if you look at the Wikipedia definition of crypto art, all of that has been washed away. And there's this guy who is maintaining that page that sort of deletes everything to do with ideas, ideology, or the substance of crypto art away from it. And it's now all of a sudden just becomes something about tokens and everyone just tokenizing something on the blockchain. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's just that washing away the most important part of its history has become, I think that's just super wrong. So you can have, let's say, some artists who might be inspired by, if they first understand the problem of the whole of the monetary system, and then they get why Bitcoin is important, then they usually, everything else is just details. They're going to want to figure out how NFTs work and all of those kinds of things, because they might want to be a part of such an important moment in our history where this monetary evolution is upon us. Now, the second thing is that then the artists, this being an incredibly difficult venture to be a part of to begin with, because of, you could say that artists are kind of like startups, but without funding, and usually for about a decade without any viable product as well. So it's an incredibly difficult thing to make a living out of. So even just telling artists that, oh, by the way, you can take a picture of the painting that you took. If you're not a digital artist, then there was just yesterday that some guy sold one digital token with their art associated for 50 grand, and you will see a cavalry running towards you of people just being needing to making a living. So you don't have to have the ideology part, and many of these platforms have instructional videos, and they're happy to help you just tokenize your thing. And also another part is that for the longest time, the legacy art world wasn't really interested in digital art because there wasn't, again, a way to monetize it. So many brilliant artists have not become mainstream or great artists, even though their substance has been great, because there was no way for these institutions to monetize their work, who can now, of course, flock into the art space. But then there's also another whole thing, is that it's almost now an ecosystem where we've taken none of the substance from the so-called legacy art world, none of the history. All of a sudden, thousands and thousands of years of art tradition has been washed away and thrown the baby out with the bathwater and shot with a shotgun as it flies. And we've made our own rules. And this one way is a blessing and a curse, because some of the things that are very corrupt about the old art world shouldn't be transferred over, but then there's things that where we really shouldn't reinvent the wheel. And because we haven't imported some of the best things from the legacy art world, like people's careers and interpretation of what makes art valuable, that is preventing many serious people from entering the space currently. But it'll all happen with its own rapid succession, and then it's great, but so many people are on the same line right now. Like, I've been a professional artist for 20 years, but all of a sudden I'm on the same line with people who started putting their first sort of experiments together basically yesterday. And some of them might even be making more money right now than me, and they entered a month ago, and they started art 3 months ago. So this is the kind of Wild West thing. I'm sorry that this is an elaborate sort of answer to this whole thing, but it's incredibly exciting. But there are things and finesse and refinements that are required in order for it to really start taking strides towards something that also the legacy art world can take seriously.
Right on.
Fantastic. Mr. Gonzo, over to you.
Do you guys see NFTs breaking into like comic books maybe? And then even animation and like filmmaking. I don't know if it's more of a security token or if it'd be like an NFT, right? But, and like the technical restraints, you know, like Vesa, you talk about working in the super high resolution, like big paintings, right? Like, do you encounter any problems compressing that stuff, showing it digitally? And like, are there limitations to the file sizes? And then we start talking about putting audio into it and maybe interactivity, you know, how far along down the line is that stuff? Because you do some animation stuff too, right? Moving graphics.
Yeah, I'm getting more into it, and definitely needing a couple of collaborators for the common project as well, definitely on the animation side, because 3D animation and After Effects is and those kinds of things, I'm fairly rudimentary on those because I started as a filmmaker. I have that mindset, but not the skill set. So Photoshop is more my realm. But the platforms have come a long way in a pretty quick succession. So usually it's about a 50 megabyte file size that we right now have. And they will certainly increase as we go along. But with 50 megabytes, you can do quite a lot already. But with regards to this Brittany project, I think I'll need to really inquire into some of that stuff, because we're with our file sizes and the elaborate nature of the NFTs that we have planned. I think that is not going to be enough for some of them. So
You work really
absolutely
big, right? Like massive paintings, yeah. And then when you start getting into like 300, 400, 500 DPI, it gets to be like massive files, yeah. So how are you getting around those issues?
Basically, if it's been something like a longer animation, it's been something that is because essentially a part of the thing is that you can show your ownership of the art piece via the blockchain solutions. But if you, let's say, if you have a television screen that is an 8K screen on at your home, then we can do a deal on the back end where I send you the actual file that you can put on your television, because that's not necessarily related to you being able to show or trade the art piece that you've bought from me. So there's ways around that, but even that gets a little bit complicated, because I also do make physical versions of these art pieces.
Right.
And then if I send the file over, that means that all of a sudden someone can make a 2 meters by something print of them and even start selling them on their own. So it's a tricky navigation of how to go about things, and we're all just figuring it out. It's also highly experimental and interesting in that way, and I'm sure I'll be making a bunch of mistakes along the way, and I have made a bunch already. So
Excellent. So Matty, Stefano was extremely excited to have you on the show, so I'm going to get him to ask a question next. But just before then, we do a show on Wednesdays where we review different crypto and blockchain projects. We really delve into the utility and also, the tokenomics and effectively trade these things. It's somewhat of a competition show. Obviously, we're excited that Vesa is donating a small NFT to us. So we'll be delving into the entire landscape and how the average person can get involved. But Matty, my question to you is, you're really top of the tree here and educating people on the NFT space. What are the basics? How do you someone new coming in? How do you explain what an NFT is? Someone watching this, give us the bare bones basics of this landscape.
It's so hard to explain, Sean. To be honest, it's the biggest challenge, right?
I'm getting you to do it.
Mate, it's like you're trying to explain to them what blockchain is, and then people are like, it took me a long time to digest what blockchain is. What is this public database thing? Why is it so important? And how does it all, what's this mining thing? And to explain that, and then the solutions of that with digital pieces and how there's this new opportunity. To be honest, I've just avoided the conversation as much as I can in real life. When people ask me what I do, I'm just like, I just blog and do YouTube stuff. And, I don't really talk about the NFT stuff. But before we answer that, Sean, I wanted to just quickly jump to Johnny's question on like how big can we get with these digital representations. And I think what he was trying to get to is, like how does Vesa digitize his piece, which is so high definition and all that kind of stuff. I don't know the technical limitations in the sense of I'm not that much of a tech guy, but I do know a friend of mine who's working on a project called MetaZone, which is you'll be able to buy, 3D scenes as NFTs, which you'll be able to deploy on your Decentraland land. So whether this may be a house, maybe this will be like a building, maybe a statue or a physical piece, and they're becoming like 3D pieces now that you can own and trade as NFTs. And I know like people have done animations, so Top Shots do animations for basketball moments and all that kind of stuff. And in my head, I thought maybe there'll be a movie that will fund itself by selling each scene. I can totally see that happening.
Exactly.
NFTs can represent honestly anything digital, because as far as I know, it's just a link to a piece of content that lives on some server. So some people like that, some people don't, but I think at the bare bones of it, that's what it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, guys, I mean, for the latter part of the show, let's keep it pretty conversational. If anyone wants to jump in at any time with questions for anyone else, please feel free to do that. But Stefano, on that note, anything from you at this point, sir?
Yes, I have an insane amount of questions.
Or you might.
So can I just ask Matty about that last question first?
Yeah, sure.
Just before. So you said the 3D thing. Oh no,
Yeah.
3D thing, right? Like, are you talking about it's like the actual file, like the 3D Maya file, or it's just like a render of it? Like,
I guess the NFT would be obviously just the token, but the ownership of the token, I think, I guess Decentraland would recognize that to be a 3D file, so you can import that into Decentraland. And I think the companies or the projects that are interoperable need to understand and recognize those servers or those pieces of content in the way that it's supposed to be digested. So,
Right.
yeah,
so
it kind of gets
person that
complicated.
would, yes, the person that would receive the NFT would have the ability to go into the 3D file and like
Oh,
move the
right. I don't.
camera or add an
Right, right.
animation.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ooh,
like
I don't know
like the
about
actual
that.
working file. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I know like on Super Rare, sometimes when people are listing some of their art, there's like a Sketchfab iframe or something where you can like drag and see what the 3D model looks like. And that's all you can do. But you can't really like enter it and change it and stuff, as far as I know.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Exactly. Just another file format, and then you bring it into your computer. You can take it, modify it, add to it. Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it's the question of like, what does an NFT represent in terms of rights? Does it give you just the display rights? Does it give you some sort of like, can you be tangible with it? Can you mess around with the files? So we're still in that formative phase, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Wild West. Wild
Wild
West.
Yeah, Vesa,
It's really
I've pinched one of your pieces of art a few weeks ago from my my LinkedIn page, by the way. So
Copy paste.
I guess that's a good question. I mean, you know, we're
Right click
obviously
and say
talking
it.
about registering ownership on blockchain, but you know, for example, when you post a video on YouTube, you're going to get flagged. You know, Jesse, part of our team, has got a band, so you know the music rights get flagged if you've used it in a video, etc. But so Vesa, for example, me using a piece of your art as my background on LinkedIn, which I completely ripped off from you, by the way. You know,
I support this.
Where are we? Thanks, mate. I thought you'd be okay with it. So, but where are we? You know, how far down the track is it that those sort of things will get picked up? You know, because obviously someone's sort of owning. I understand registering it on the blockchain, but where exactly is that tech for something like that to get flagged and go? Hang on a minute, you need to clear this with the owner, or
Well, I just actually, for the first time in my life, I ever flagged someone who it just casually came in my Instagram feed that some cafe, I think it was in Switzerland or something like that, had taken multiple of my art pieces and made them into advertising about their cafe for some events and DJ things and whatever. And this person was clearly aware of me because they were from both of my platforms, these different art pieces, and hadn't tagged me into any of these adverts or ever gotten in touch with me. And I think that crossed the line. I'm like, if someone shares my images, which is effectively without any blockchain authentication or the physical pieces that are signed, that's just advertising for me in a way. And I'm ever so happy if the pieces resonate with people and they share them. It's an entirely different thing if you start to tokenize my work or then use them as advertising and I'm not even aware of them, nor have I signed off that I would like to participate in your ventures or company or whatever it is. But you know, I'm really happy to see when people use the stuff there, and it's even an added bonus if they then tag me or mention me or something like that people can find me.
Yeah.
So, but even that's unnecessary. I'm just happy to see them around. I mean,
Stefano, sorry, we'll get back to you. I know you've got a million questions for the guys.
No worries. So actually tagging on that, because like it's a perfect combination. So this is for Matty, obviously, because Jordan has mentioned like that part of like a little bit of being in a bubble, people like copy and pasting things. Vesa has mentioned like people being flagged because like they're kind of like stealing or like using the work in a non-authorized way. And I remember, I think like it was like a few weeks ago that you went like on a private crusade, I would say, with like those people on Twitter that were saying like, oh, I can just like screenshot the thing and create an NFT about that. So NFTs are basically like rubbish because like everybody can like recopy them, reselling and so on. So considering all of these three aspects where like you three are basically leading all in the same direction, where are we? What's the problem? How do we solve that? How powerful is an NFT? How do we make people understand that like they're important, and so on and so on? Basically, like a white page on that.
Yeah. I think the industry will kind of educate people itself. So what I'm finding, and I'm part of this WhatsApp group called Metaverse Minds, and there's like RAC in there, there's Blau, there's like a lot of people in the metaverse community. And what we're noticing is like we're all working together to build something. And you're right, you know, anyone can rip off an NFT and make their own NFT of it. But I'm assuming, and I'm not very familiar with the traditional art world, to be honest, I'm very new to the art scene or collecting art pieces, but I'm assuming this sort of an issue is frequent in the real world as well, right? You just scan a picture or maybe some copycat like makes a painting very similar, tries to sell it. So I think as platforms become more mature and more eyeballs are maybe people use super rare to do most of their buying, where you can't really do this activity. All of this stuff has been prominent with Rarible. And Rarible is a very bullish kind of platform where it just like throws everything out there and lets the community just make like every mistake in the book, and then they kind of reiterate and find solutions for it. And I kind of like that approach because it's like this really quick, like problem solving attitude. But that's where a lot of the issues come from, right? And obviously OpenSea. And at the end of the day, like you can, and this is what some guy did on my Twitter. He's like, check this out. I just screenshotted your Twitter quote and I sold it to this guy for 5 ETH, but he sold it to himself. So, I mean, you know, you can say you can sell it, but no one's going to buy it, right? You know, we had a recent sale from Jose Del Bo and Trevor Jones for, I don't really want to talk numbers because obviously there's a lot more depth to art to this, but I'm just saying in terms of showcasing how this works. So $111,000, that was a record sale. You're not going to get anything near that unless the real collectors that are interested in placing those bids can verify it's come from that specific person. I don't see why anyone would spend more than $1,000, $500 in making that. Maybe there would be some people that fall for that scam if someone's just ripped that art. But at the end of the day, like as the art world matures and the collectors really start to spend serious money among the NFT space, whether it's art or NFT gaming, there'll be ways where people would want to verify how they spend that money and how much they spend and make sure it comes from the right place. So I think it's something that will work on its own. But you can argue the nuances of the tech as much as you want. At the end of the day, there's a buzzing industry with millions of dollars being spent, artists making money, collectors really interested, and that industry will continue to flourish no matter how replicable the tech could be.
Are you aware of a service actually for that? Because like I'm thinking about like what you're saying is 100% correct, and I totally agree on that. But let's assume, for example, that I don't know Vesa for the sake of the examples, and Jesse goes on Vesa's Instagram, take one of his art, do a screenshot, create an NFT, and I'm a random guy that goes like on OpenSea, and I see like the two NFTs. One is from Jesse, one is from Vesa. So one is the original one, and the other one is obviously like a clone. Is there somehow a system, a service, something that can tell me like, hey, wait a second, this is the job from the real artist, while this other one is just like a copy of that? Is there anything like that?
Not yet, but I mean, I don't see why that can't be made, right?
There was. Do you guys remember Poe?
I don't know.
Poe, P-O-E. It was it was a blockchain solution. Yeah, exactly. But it was around before kind of NFTs caught on. It was one of the first things that I got into in 2018, just because of digital rights. You know, it was like people are always stealing your shit. How do you take care of that? And that was in the white paper of Poe. I was like, oh, you know, I got into crypto and I'm like so excited and buying this and buying that, and then you know it all dumps. And the only product the only product that they had was like a plugin for WordPress, so that it would like, you know, give you rights to whatever you publish. So it would be like you put the plugin, and then anything that you publish, all the rights are attributed to you if anybody copies it or pastes it or whatever. So the technology's got to be there somehow. If they did it before any NFTs. I don't know how you can trademark pixels or what.
It's like music on iTunes, right? I mean, like, you know, Apple somehow managed to make it so, you know, just music, right, is like super locked up, you know. But I'm sure, it seems like they should be able to figure that out.
Maybe some sort of like community curated way for artists to put like their verified ETH address, where any artists out there, they see like some new OpenSea piece of art from someone like Vesa, I guess you can't scan the image, but I don't know. I lost. There was a solution in my head, but now it's gone away.
No, I think like continuing that train of thoughts, like if you have the artist that verified the address, and then because like every single transaction is recorded, you can somehow put in like the verified, like you would do that on Twitter type of thing on the account to be like, yes, this is like a verified heart that comes from the original address that is like verified by the artist itself.
That takes care of the payments though, but that doesn't take care of the content, like the copy paste thing,
well, but that's my point. Like if you have like a verified solution on like a specific card, then yes, anybody would always be able to copy something in the same way of like, you can even like, if you're good at painting, you can like replicate the Mona Lisa. Doesn't mean that like it's the original one. You can sell it maybe for a couple of $100s, but it doesn't have the same value. Here, to me, is the same thing. Like if you have the official art, it's always going to have a higher value because it's the original one. Then yes, you can like screenshot that and create another one. But if it's not verified on that part, then, someone might buy that. It's true. But at least it kind of like put a level on like ensuring somehow that scams are reduced and investors in general, like collectors, are not being like ripped off or something like that.
I know with the Rarible, for example, people that create NFTs, they go through what's called a verification process if they want to, which gives them that blue check mark, and they can go to Rarible and they can go into the Discord and say, hey, I'm so-and-so artist. Here's my original ETH address. This is my profile, blah, 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 blah. And then in Rarible now, there's ways to see if you're buying from someone who has that check mark and who doesn't. And I find myself, if I'm interested in Rarible, I'm not touching anything that doesn't have a check mark. That's just like asking for trouble, right? So I think that's what I mean. Like these solutions, kind of eBay style, which has like, a star rating, and that took like a while to mature and get to that stage. With Google and Amazon and all of that stuff, you can tell who's got like a history. And I think as the platform evolves, we'll get to that stage. But because it's the Wild West, you can do those things because, people can't tell the difference between who's been in the space for years and decades than to someone who just ripped up some art yesterday.
Yeah,
it might be useful to...
Go ahead, Vesa.
Oh, sorry, buddy. It might be useful to go a little bit back into what it's like in the legacy art world for perspective. I mean, you have... like, for example, the famous sunflowers of Van Gogh, and it's arguable whether there's 2 or 3 of them. And it's a Japanese museum that has the third one. And me personally, when I look at the third one, there's been some controversy whether that's a real one or not. And it's valued at $150 million painting at this point. And if I look at the vibrancy and the spirit of Van Gogh in the first 2, I don't see that in the third one. But that museum has very little incentive to let anyone near it to authenticate it otherwise or recheck whether it is a $150 million painting or not. And then you have, especially when abstract painting became a thing, you have the world's most well-known and authority on authenticating Jackson Pollock paintings now refuses to authenticate any more Jackson Pollock. So let's say if, Matty, you find all of a sudden in your grandma's attic Jackson Pollock, you're kind of shit out of luck because no one's going to authenticate it anymore because simply there's so many different fakes that are around there's now Chinese render farms where they make these real paintings and very, very skilled actors. And one of the not so well-known open secrets about the industry is that Christie's and Sotheby's are basically have the biggest muscle in order to authenticate art pieces at the moment. And up to 50% of their catalogs can be fakes. So you can only, from there, tell on further of how rampant fraud is in the art world. So in comparison to that, that is specifically one of the things that the blockchain art space has come to help people with. It's evolved the whole digital art space, but also authenticate artwork, which is why it's so super valuable now to get to those artists who are now getting to be known and they're authenticating their art pieces from from their own account, so you can track them back for 100% to the person who uploaded them. So I don't think there's any way you can just have a magic solution that it doesn't require any due diligence or research on the behalf of those who are buying those art pieces, or that it's not a rabbit hole that you need to go into to a relative degree to be secure in it. But already now, if we quite well know those people who already have some notoriety in this space, who've continuously participate, they put their own faces out there, they're part of this ecosystem and its development. And I think those sort of right-click and save things are not as much of a problem as they're made out to be in comparison to what the problems are with $100 million paintings in the legacy world. So I think we can also give ourselves some slack in the NFT world as we develop and AI tools perhaps come online, so that like you were saying, Johnny, that the music rights are very locked down, or was it you, Jesse? Sorry. That we just need a couple of little tools, but then again, you're playing catch up, because, for example, if you take one of my art pieces and then you take a small slice of it with Photoshop and you transfer some bits over, then the AI might not recognize that art piece anymore. So you're always doing this cat and mouse thing with this whole thing. But if you do know who the artist is, they've uploaded from there before, and you like their work and you can now buy them, it's such a new thing, and there's so much value in here that people don't realize. And they could literally be buying with a couple of $100s right now art pieces that are going to go for stupid amounts of money. So it's crazy exciting, but it's also very frustrating, because at the same time, I do personally quite often feel that I'm minting something or putting something out there that is of profound value for very little, and it just drops into some digital black hole, and I'll just sit there and go, all right, I guess I have to wait for some more.
I think at the moment, the intersect between the cryptocurrency or the crypto people and the art world, this obviously existed before, like 3-4 years ago, but now what's happening is the intersect is also coming with the crypto mindset, which is a lot about how many people follow this artist, what's his, not so much even what's his history, like how many social media followers does he have? That's kind of like the collector, not the investor kind of buy and sell trade kind of mindset, right? Especially with the cryptocurrency mind. So we're seeing a lot of that dominate. But I think as the art fundamentals and that sort of vibe kind of kicks in to the majority of that intersect, I think we'll see more of, things that have value actually have value, because all that noise kind of disappears a little bit, and those that stand out because of their story and who they are and how long they've been in space and that kind of stuff. But I also think like a lot of art is really good these days. So there's so many artists who can suddenly digitize their work. We're seeing like 3D stuff that I've never seen before from hundreds of artists now. Yeah, and I think that's also becoming like a very difficult playing field.
Well, that's the tools, right? Like, I mean, you look at deep fakes, right? The technology with like After Effects and Photoshop, like you can incorporate 3D into Photoshop now. You can animate in Photoshop now, right? You can bring music into Photoshop. So, before it like literally the time saving and the technical aspects, like you couldn't draw it. Now you can just make it with a computer. The resolution stuff, like one of my concepts was you just have a painting and you look at it on like the screen, but the ability to like just zoom and zoom and zoom. And it's not necessarily an animation or a world, but just to see all these little details, right? That you couldn't even do that in a real painting, right? But because of the depth of the pixels, you could get like, it's like a Where's Waldo, you look into this little corner for a couple of days, and then you look into this corner for a couple of days, right? But that's why I was asking about the technical aspect.
Guys, I'm going to screenshot my impersonation of Vincent van Gogh in the time of COVID and sell this as an NFT.
Did you go to get that prop?
Well, the joke wouldn't have worked without it, Johnny, so yes. So what are the main places that people can go to purchase NFTs?
I had just one other kind of thought. We were talking about like how do you verify everything, right? That's kind of really one of the reasons that I'm quite bullish on Axie or like Decentraland, because the NFTs are contained inside their world. right? So if you build with inside their world, there's not that room for the fraud and the stealing, right? Because it's all, if you build inside the world and you put the time into the world, then you get the value from the NFT, which is, I find super interesting. I'm super into that stuff.
Yeah, NFTs are such a broad term now. It classifies the whole art industry, the whole gaming industry. And right now we're calling them NFTs, but I think maybe 2-3 years from now, if you say that, no one's going to know what the hell you're talking about, because it just applies to so many applications.
Yeah, very true. I mean, ultimately, a web domain is an NFT, isn't it? So
yeah, you can get an ENS domain as an NFT. So.
Yeah, ENS, yeah.
True. Any other questions, guys? We've got an expert guest panel here. Far away.
I just wanted to ask how much are NFTs, and I know, I guess we say NFTs cover so many things, but let's say in terms of just artwork, how much do they play a role in the physical world? And in other words, someone goes and buys a beautiful painting, they put it on their wall in their living room to show off to all their friends at the party, or they get this nice statue and they put it in their living rooms to show off to the friends at the party. And so it's like, if someone wanted to get some beautiful art because they just got a new house and they wanted to decorate their house, do NFTs play a role in that? Or is it leading more towards the digital world? And like Sean said, using it in his LinkedIn page.
Vesa, I think that's for you.
Sorry, mate.
I think you can answer that. I mean, that.
Okay. I was hoping so, because this has been a little bit of a frustration of mine in a certain kind of sense, because the way that I make the art is that I make a painting and I photograph it, or multiple paintings and I photograph them, and then maybe there's body painting and nature photography, and all that is being put together with Photoshop. And for the most part, the aesthetics of crypto art right now is that it's all made out of pixels, and that sometimes leaves me very cold. So even though my art has been completely digital for 12 years. Even the majority of my contemporaries think that I'm a traditional artist who just scans my paintings, whereas in fact that they sometimes come together from thousands and thousands of layers. And now, when I first started, I had to make physical copies of them in order to monetize them, and I made these very fancy sort of metallic prints of them, or I started printing and repainting on top of them and tying the price to Bitcoin, and all of a sudden these different kinds of gadgets. But now with the world of NFTs, I can actually start to tokenize the originals and make them into something. And when it comes to your house, I now can offer both of those options. You can get them even as a bundle if you negotiate it. You can own the NFT, which you can then put on your 8K screen or 4K screen, whatever you have in your house, or you can buy it as something that is a more permanent physical piece that comes with a blockchain certificate on VeriSart or some other platform.
So have you got an example of a conversation you've had with someone, like, for example, I think Tone Vase owns, Bull and Bear. I believe there's three physical copies of that. Is that right?
Yeah, there's the main format.
But how does that conversation happen with, say, a buyer of that physical piece with regards to, if you wanted to have X amount of digital copies of it, or I mean, I guess there's multiple sort of variations on that on this topic. Maybe tell us about any conversations you've actually had around that sort of scenario.
With Tone, it was a particularly interesting conversation because we met at the CC Forum in London, and basically I only had, out of these big repaints, so this is a 1 meter by 2 meters canvas print that I've repainted over, and the first one was bought by Silver 8 Capital from Madrid, and the second one was Ocean Exchange, and then I only had the third one left, and this was one of the main pieces that I made. It was the most popular one, and the price of it is tied to Bitcoin. So commercially bought from me, it's 1 Bitcoin. And then I went to Tone and I said, hey, listen, this is the main animation of my website. This was the headlining image of a Forbes article about the whole movement. This is all the things of where it's been present and how it's been bought and whatever. And I can't believe I still have this and it's priced at 1 Bitcoin and people haven't bought it. And I want someone smart with some clout to buy this, so that they would be happy to have the third one. As in, with the physical pieces, it's not now much more difficult to tell the value of the secondary market, because right now it's all sold out, but no one's wanted to part from their own version of their painting, so we don't know what it's going to be. But the whole idea is that if you buy it with 1 Bitcoin from me, because no one wants to part from their Bitcoin, that means that if it's sold out, no one in their right mind would part from their own version for less than a Bitcoin. Because with most consumer goods that you buy with your crypto, the reverse logic is true. Even Tone has a watch that is a $400 watch that he paid 5 Bitcoin for, and he's rather pissed that he has it on his wrist, even though he has the pioneer sort of pride that, you know, he's participated in all of this. But basically, this is what I was telling him, that this is not going to depreciate in value even if you pay it in Bitcoin. I'd presume that you'll sell it for at least 3 to 5 or 10, whatever it is, with the dollar amount, because also the logic is tied to the market. So that's a part of this. This is why I only make 3 of them. So it's super limited. It has my own hand and sort of acrylic paint on it. It has the signatures and the blockchain verifications, and that's thus far the most popular in the physical world. But now, bizarrely, you could argue that that is a copy of the original, which is a digital file. But my NFTs thus far haven't been making the kind of money that I was expecting for them to make, or there hasn't been that much traction to them, which I'm ever so baffled myself, but I kind of just keep quiet about it for the most part, expecting for people to kind of discover the process of the whole 12-year journey, what I've done. And I haven't minted them yet, because I've minted a few, and seeing some of the performance of some of the NFTs, I thought maybe it's not the time yet for me. Maybe I need to do something like the Brittany project first in order to people to go like, oh, there's really something happening here. There is energy, and there is the potential for the second market, and there's a career that is going somewhere. So I'm sensing it out. It's a grand experiment, you know, much like the hashtag Vesa token and all of those things that we're going to be experimenting with. So it's I'm just taking it as it comes and innovate as much as possible. There's even a smart contract that I'm putting together and a pricing innovation with, looking for a front-end developer at the moment. Someone's out there.
Link below, people. Link below. Get in touch. Could be part of art history. Any other questions, guys?
I was just about to say, it's almost like the digital era is its own thing. It's like restarting this whole art movement in its own, from everyone's working from scratch. And from then onwards, it's like its own direction. So people who have a story are those with social media followings, where you can go and verify and read up that story. So if these avenues of awareness of storytelling aren't set up yet, I think it's very difficult for people to do that research unless those that know you personally or know you in the real world. And that's why I think, for me, I come from a very analytical background, and like I like to see money grow, and I'm very like business development mindset. And it actually took me a good 6 months to a year to look into art as NFTs as something that's not a bubble, because I was like, surely people can mint hundreds of thousands of these. Why does this have any value? But now I'm kind of backtracking and learning a bit more. But if I look back to how like marketing works in terms of business development and like giving value to things where that value continues to grow, it is about like community that can be verified in the digital space, and that's translated as a social media website with like hundreds of thousands of followers, where you can see like thousands of people like the art, and that's why that drives a lot of collective decisions. Now, that's not to tell people that are artists to, you know, translate their art to suit that. Obviously, artists can do whatever they want and have their own story to tell. But it's interesting to see, if you look at the data, that's what it's showing. It's kind of like everyone's starting from scratch, and those that have these social awareness channels seem to sell to some degree.
Stefano, Jordan,
especially the art. Sorry.
Any questions
No worries.
for Matty or Vesa?
Yeah. So Matty, you post like on Twitter like that pool about like which NFT is gonna be the first one reaching like the $1 million sales, and there was like I think it was land, art, wearables, and maybe like I don't know, something else, maybe like a game thing and so on.
There's a collectible and a game item.
Okay, that's What do you think? And I'm also curious of like knowing what Vesa thinks and like in general, like everybody else, what is going to be the first one reaching actually the $1 million?
Porno.
Really?
Could be. Probably. We haven't even seen that industry come up, right? But
That's right.
you know, I think it's going to be a close tie between the art industry and the land industry. And I'm biased about the land industry because I know a lot of big companies eyeing out some land, and I know how much money they have and what they're waiting for. And I know it's going to be in the $500,000 to $1 million ballpark. So it's just a matter of when that's going to happen, if the art market can beat that. So I know it's happening. It's going to come in the the land market. But you know, art's just accelerating at a crazy rate. So we could have that sale there.
Are you talking about physical land?
Completely mistaken.
No. What are you
Digital
talking
land.
about?
Well, no, that's why I'm just making sure, you know, because like
Sorry, Johnny,
NFTs are connected to like a lot
Wrong
of different
side, Johnny.
things.
Yeah. No, specific. This one
I think you're in the wrong call,
Decentraland.
Johnny.
I just want to be clear.
No.
guys are
This
talking
one was
about, like,
specifically
DCL land.
Decentraland. Yeah,
Yeah,
Decentraland.
Okay, I just
But
want to make sure because, you know,
Yeah,
when you
a
say
lot of
land to
companies-
normal
yeah.
people,
That's
okay,
true.
just making
That's
sure.
true. It is good to clarify.
Unless
Though,
it's-
You know,
something
because
like
there has
physical
been
land.
talk, like all the use cases of NFTs, you know, like for deeds, like why couldn't a deed be an NFT, right? So that's, you know,
Well,
I just want to be
we
clear.
saw
here.
a insurance policy that
Yeah.
insured people that staked their coins
That's
in
right.
any of these DeFi protocols sell for what 350 Ethereum, which is over 100K. So you're right, man. Like ownership can be tokenized in real world concepts. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, what is it? Spencer Dinwiddie, right? In the plays for the Spurs, or he plays in the NBA and he tokenized his contract, right? So it's going to take
Did
something
he?
like that. Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Guys,
on Ethereum.
honestly, I gotta just say that Kevin Abosh broke the $1 million mark already over 2 years ago with his Forever Rose picture, which was tokenized into 10 different parts. I think that
But
were
it wasn't an
sold.
NFT, right?
It wasn't a
It wasn't
single
an
one.
NFT.
Yeah, it was an ERC20 of so 10 different people invested 100K each as 10 ERC20 tokens that represented that
Right.
that full art piece. Yeah, but yeah, definitely $1 million collective purchase. So I always like allude to that on the side every time I mention like the record sales, but I don't think it was an NFT because the standard wasn't up there yet.
In other words, it's still open for you to be first, Vesa.
Go,
That's
Vesa.
what I've been working at, like quite consciously for over 2 years now. Was at the first World CryptoCon on 2018, so that would be just about a couple of years ago. We started making this project with the Bad Crypto podcast guys. I made them an art piece about our common mission together in Vegas, and on stage there, it was first the physical version of it was first signed by Charlie Lee, Maxine Ryan, Vinny Lingham, and Ronnie Moas, and it has then since to the physical version gathered the signatures of Andreas Antonopoulos and Vitalik Buterin, and just about all the big names in the space have already participated in becoming lightning in a bottle as part of this art piece. And it has the digital version that now keeps gathering more signatures. And the idea is that we're going to get over $1 million for it. And the buyer will get the NFT as well as the physical version with all the signatures. And the way that we verify it is that the lawyer of the Litecoin Foundation, Blake Rizzo, who's a fantastic guy, he set up a wallet for this charity called Hawk, Houston Women's Center, that is a charity that has been running for 4 years that fights against violence towards women and girls, and now men are I think, included into that whole domestic abuse scenario. And the way that it's going to work is that someone sends over $1 million worth of crypto or dollars to this charity. They verify that they have received it, and then that starts the process that we're going to send the physical as well as the NFT with all the associated signatures to this individual or company or whatever it is. But it was a little bit of a dig as well towards the Kevin Abosh project, because it's a beautiful picture of a rose, and I love the utility of the tokens, but it, in terms of substance, had very little to do with crypto art, because I'm sort of old school in thinking that the actual substance of the art should also somehow be involved in order for it to be called crypto art. But I'm sort of a dinosaur with that. I do realize, but it was a dig towards the whole project that even if it's $1,000,001 that gets sent, then this has been in the works for 2 years to become the most valuable NFT and crypto art piece already.
Yep.
And I hope you're right, Vesa, that it's going to be something nice like that, with all this effort. But for some reason, with the crazy mania that goes on in crypto, I think it's going to be something stupid like a Pepe frog that's just going to like, some stupid hype, and some retard degens are just going to spend $2 million on this, 10 pixel stupid GIF or something. And just like
Dude,
totally
I intellectual death every day. Every day I just there's something that makes me throw up in my mouth, or somehow my head explodes, and then I need to go and meditate and have fantasies about going to some fucking mountain somewhere. That's how this works.
Don't go to
I
crypto
battle with that and bite my lip, but
yeah.
Well, if you think about who has the money and who are the people that are kind of rich in the crypto space, they made it like with gambling and just like getting lucky riding a moon wave. So it's just like people that don't value stories and history, they just value whatever's fun. So they'll throw money at things that I've seen those meme cards sell for like 80 Ethereum, I think, some of them, which is 30K. So yeah, it can be something stupid.
Yeah.
Stefano, how many
Probably
NFTs?
will be something stupid.
Stefano, how many NFTs do you currently have?
I don't know. I think compared to the people in the chat, I'm gonna be like a noob. I think around 120, 150, something like that. Made a tons of mistakes, but NFTs from games that are not on blockchain anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, got a couple of pieces of art, a lot of Axies, land, obviously, wearables, and the classic CryptoKitties and so on and so on. So made my mistakes. I'm
Sound
pretty happy
sad
that I
about it,
have a
man.
horse
Sound happy.
on. Huh?
I said you sound sad about your portfolio.
I'm happy about my portfolio. I'm happy, but I'm also sad because I made this thing of buying a lot of random things and then discovering the projects.
Right.
And that turned out to be a terrible idea, but a good learning
UIORL.
experience.
Do your own research later.
Pretty much.
No, with the NFT space, it's so insanely important to take your time learning this stuff, because the liquidity isn't there. It's not like cryptocurrency where if you buy $1,000 worth of any crypto today, then tomorrow you could probably sell it for the same price, because it's just the exchange price. There's always a buyer there who's ready to fulfill that order. NFT space is completely different. Someone has to come across that space that values that NFT you bought for exactly that price or higher. So the liquidity is very difficult. So I personally do so much research before I part ways with my money and NFT.
Yeah, it's all about exposure, right?
Huh?
It's all about exposure. The best artists are going to be the ones, like you said, with the biggest social media followings, the ones that have the most outreach, not necessarily the best artists, but the guys that know the right person, which, again, was one of the major flaws of the legacy art business, right?
Mm-hmm.
The best artists in the world, half of them were stuck in their basement and then never saw the light of day because they didn't know that right gallery owner that would put their stuff out and hype them up, right? So it's the same thing. You're getting more artists with more access now, but you can game your Twitter following, you can game your YouTube following, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And if people, like you said, it is about research, and people have to do some research, find out the story, find out about the artists.
Yeah, not every NFT appreciates because they're designed differently. Art is a fringe case, but you got Axie Infinity, which are these pets that live in a digital universe. You can people can continually breed them, so people continue to make more and more supplies. So there's no reason why they'll appreciate. But there's a select few Axies that are a limited edition, have this mystic tag. There's only 1,000 of them. There's only going to be 1,000 of them. So in that game, those are the ones that have been appreciating, are continuously appreciating from 0.5 to 6 Ethereum now over the last 2 to 3 years. So
you've got a panel of egg fuckers on here at the moment, Matty. I can assure you of that.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing with Axie is it has use case, right? You can build
Well, that's the
You
thing.
can breed an Axie, and if it's good at the game, it's going to be worth money, right?
That's true. That's true.
It's
But,
not like
other people can breed the same Axie eventually. So once there's hundreds of, like maybe 1 year down the track, there's hundreds of that type of special Axie, then then the value drops. But this specific one, the mystic ones, there's nothing game special about them in the sense that they're not stronger in any way. I think they have certain parts that can evolve higher, but strategically, people don't use them to win more often. They just were the ones that were available that you had a percentage to get when you were in the pre-sale 3 years ago. So just because it has that mystic tag, it's kind of like a collector trophy Axie, and it has its own kind
Matty,
of
question on that, because we actually covered Axie a couple of weeks ago on our review show. They gifted us a little bit of land. Stefano, or in fact, most of the panel have been breeding Axies. My Telegram feed is listening to Johnny breeding mega nuts with Jesse's. What was your one called, Jesse?
Can't remember. Wait, remind me.
It's 18 plus
man.
either way.
You're supposed to love your Axie. With
Oh
all your
man,
heart and soul.
Oh, right. It was I don't know. It wasn't that bad. It was a horn dog or something.
Sounds about right.
I'm not sure if you know what we're talking about, Vesa, but just while I've got you here, Matty, what do you think are the best investments? I mean, is land a better investment than the actual Axies, in your opinion, for someone who's coming in?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? You kind of have to be so immersed in all of these concepts. Like, what does land do? Is there more supply coming? So that's the thing. So a quarter of their whole universe was sold so far. So at some point, they're going to really release the next stage of land and introduce more supply. So that's probably going to reduce the supply of land, the price of land, because suddenly that people, instead of buying it off the secondary market, they can buy it off the primary market for a much cheaper price. But the question is, when is that going to happen? What we've seen is they've said that they're not going to do anything until the people are begging for more land. So at the moment, it's about building the game and making sure everyone's really happy. There's thousands and thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of users until they introduce more supply of land. So I think in the short term, you'll see this land appreciate because there's no real way to buy it unless you buy it from someone on the secondary market. But for me, I own some land. I've always been hesitant to invest in something that at some stage will have more supply injected. But in the case of Axie, I had so much Axie land, which I sold and now I regret. But I can see that being a good investment, or at least it was when it was like 0.1 Ethereum for the cheapest land. Now it's like 0.6, 0.7. But Axie is interesting because it's one of the very fringe NFT projects that has an actual user base that loves the product that is continuously growing. I'm not talking about investors. I'm talking about people that are playing the game.
Yeah.
So at some stage, when they have hundreds of thousands of people that are so immersed in the game, that should drive value to their market.
And why do people love it? Because they can make money on it.
It's addictive, man. It's not the money, I'm telling you.
No.
It's a good
That too.
game.
No, it
It's
is a good
fun
game too.
game.
No, I've been
But
playing
you're
it.
right. But to just give you an idea, I installed Axie because I was like, what the hell is this hype about? Let me see if this has legs or not. Dude, I got addicted to it. I was playing it all the time. I had to delete it off my phone because I couldn't do any work. And I was just like playing it on my bed. My wife was just like, what the hell are you doing playing this stupid game? And I had to delete it. And I was like, holy shit, this is a good game. Regardless of if you get rewarded with money or not, like this is a good game. And if they make it into a broader universe, I see why why the user base is growing, because I personally experienced the addiction. So, those experiences show me what has more, I guess, longer lasting potential.
On that part of like the increase of like the fact that like you can create axes that are like similar, or the fact that like the land is gonna like being expand and there is gonna be more and etc. etc. Going back on like the hard part. If an artist, and this is like for both Vesa and Matty, but I think that like it's probably good for Jordan as well. If an artist creates an NFT and it's minted on like, I don't know, 3, 10, whatever it's gonna be, a second minting session or a second edition of the same thing is a big no-no, or is maybe not so bad after all?
What do you think, Vesa?
I haven't done. I've been very clear about what's unique and what's a limited edition collectible. I think for me it'll be an interesting thing because I've got so many digital pieces that I can now start to mint that are still images. If I mint, actually this would be much more important for you guys to answer, is that if I make a still version of an art piece and I sell it as a one of one, would you then be disappointed if that turns out as a motion NFT that has been brought to life as another one of one? Would you consider that to be cheating or actually something cool?
No way. That's a whole nother level when you put motion in there.
You have two versions at that point, isn't it? But they're different.
But then I guess
they are different, but they're essentially about the same art piece.
I guess as a collector, I'm really selective of the art that I collect because I want to make sure the artist understands the concept of scarcity, right? Like you said, if they keep minting the same thing on different platforms, then suddenly I don't feel like a collector anymore. So I'll be like, well, that's just annoying, they'll probably piss off the collector. And to your point, Vesa, like they technically are the separate art pieces, but at the end of the day, it's if you want to see how the collectors feel about it, maybe they're not okay with that. Maybe they truly felt at that point that they were buying something special, a once-off made thing. But I know there's this guy called, I think it's Gavin something, and he makes those flamingo pieces. Have you guys seen that 3D flamingo dancing? So he uses the same flamingos, but he makes separate art around it. So it's like the same concept, but a little bit different, right? 50% different, you could say. So that's kind of interesting, where there's some sort of similarity, but it's a different kind of art piece in that sense, and it continues to sell.
That would be kind of down my area where like I'm a character designer, right? I create characters, right? So you create your brand, like the gorillas or, like Ren and Stimpy. Once you create that character, if it's 3D, you just put it in different scenes and different settings, like it's new art, right?
Yeah.
It's like just a bit of reuse, you're building on the foundation that you've got before. So I don't think there's any problem with, having the still version and then you have the motion version, just so long as, you state that like this is a one of two, one still, one motion. It shouldn't be a big thing. I think,
if you're dropping an art piece every day, that's the same iteration of that and all that, and there's no real collector demand for it, then you're probably just going to out supply yourself. But if there is a collector appetite where millions of people are waiting for your art drops, then yeah, man, go for your life. You can probably do those every day if you want. So that's true. I think, it's like balancing yourself with the collector appetite to a certain degree as well.
One of the most difficult things in art altogether is to become recognizable. First of all, to have a recognizable style. And one of the things that I've seen quite a bit in crypto art now is that people have, and even to the success and congratulations, and I love my brother Trevor Jones, of what he's done with the Picasso paintings and the bull and making them into remixes of things. But even and Goldie's Gandinski's that he's done, and they evolve the expression in a certain kind of sense, but also at the same time they take the recognizability of something that was incredibly difficult to break through with into the sort of public consciousness of the whole world with. So they in some sense do borrow the thunder of something that has become a recognizable thing. And because art is so incredibly difficult to try and evaluate of what's valuable or not, that is the thing. How do you get into people's consciousness that they sort of automatically trust something to be of value? And what I personally try and do is to have an expression and enough substance in order to people to just know that that is a Vesa art piece. And I borrow the thunder of, let's say, the likeness of Bitcoin. I've utilized the logos of different cryptocurrencies in multiple different ways, but I try and put so many different things of value in there that they become an entity of themselves. And it's not just basically being a glorified reworker of the real artist who would be the one who made the logo. So this is always a forever kind of thing, but it's because the majority part of the collectors, they're not art historians, nor should they be. they buy something that they trust and recognize and love, and something that resonates with you. And of course, I borrow a lot from pop culture. With the latest piece that I did, the Brave, which we went through together with Matty already, there's a bunch of stuff from Star Wars and all different kinds of pop culture references and KGB spy faces and whatever. In order to achieve that someone would go to that art piece and see, hey, someone's put real thought, effort, work, and love into this, and there's things that I understand about it, so that you can have some sort of a resonance base, it being in your home or in your collection. But that is probably the most incredibly difficult thing to do in art, is to have that communication that resonates with someone who might then want to put their things that they can get real food from the store from into something that is a representation of something on their wall. It's such a mystery of how that works in our minds.
Mm.
One thing I've noticed work really well in the digital space as well is like, and I thought about this, and I think I tweeted it somewhere, but I was like, artists collect collectors and collectors collect art. And I've seen that in the digital world specifically, in the sense that, we see some artists come in and just try and sell one-of-ones, and no one, it's just the way that crypto works is like no one knows who they are yet, because, they're all about the social media followings. But if they try and sell, 10 editions of the same piece for a relatively cheap price and slowly grow their investor base who have purchased their art and now tweet about the artists and now maybe put it on a gallery and spread that awareness, because now they're on your team as collectors, then that's slowly what I've seen people compound off. So then the next drop suddenly gets more collectors, and now they got like 30, 40 collectors that have their pieces that are maybe using it in Decentraland somewhere, CryptoVoxel somewhere, tweet about it here and there. And then there's all these multiple awareness channels, and then they start to do like one-of-one editions and stuff like that. That's been a pathway. It's obviously not everyone's pathway, but it's an interesting observation.
So I have, Sean, if you don't mind, I have one question for both Matty and Stefano as collectors. Can you tell me what is your most prized possession as an NFT, and what makes you make the decision of collecting something? I'd love to know.
I have
You could ask that to all three of the guys. It was actually the question I was going to ask. So very good, but yeah, if all three of you could.
Sorry.
Ask individually.
Stepping on toes.
No. Great question. It was my next one. Yeah.
I actually have 4 pieces of Ferocious's art, and I remember I messaged her and I was like, "Yo, I love your art because I like the digital appeal." And I went to the Twitter handle and I was like, "Wow, she's so active in like helping other artists. She talks about her art. There's videos of her showing her art and like where it came from, telling a story." And for me, I like to invest because I know how the digital space is going. It's kind of like if you're good at telling your story as an artist, your career will flourish if you're good at telling that story online. So every time Ferocious makes a sale, she makes a video about it. She tweets like 1,000 times a day. So it's like so involved in building that career, and the follower base has gone from like 10,000 to 20,000 Twitter followers, right? And it's not so much just looking at those followers, it's like how do these guys continue telling their story in now this digital medium? So for me, having 3 pieces of her art and then 1 physical piece as well, I think that's a pretty cool set. I also have a one-of-one Jose Delbo piece, which I got in really early with. It's a Batman and Joker piece. And that's special to me because I know his grandson really well, and we talk a lot on WhatsApp. And I've even purchased a real-world picture, and I like Marvel and Batman and stuff. So that was really cool to own. So those 2 would probably be really good. I have a Marco Matic piece as well, which is kind of like a 3D moving piece. And to be honest, that was the first one I looked at, and I was like, showed my wife, and I was like, babe, I really like this piece. And I know it's 8 Ethereum, and I know it's stupid money, but like, I think this is going to be my first entry to the art world. So I was been eyeing that piece for ages. And even my wife, who wasn't really that much of a crypto person, was like, we need to get this piece. It's such a good piece. So both of us like decided to get it, and we actually liked that piece regardless of, and again, with Marco Matic, I searched the Twitter handle and I made sure that he knew how to market himself. So if you look at what he's doing in the real world, he's making storybooks, he's making his art into storybooks for children, he's doing it to galleries, but in the digital world as well, he's really big on AR and VR, exploring the tech and displaying that in social channels. So I know from an investment perspective, it'll continue to grow because these people will continue to grow their awareness channels. And from just like, I like the piece as well, it resonated with me. So I liked it because I looked at it, but then secondly, I did my research to make sure that these guys specifically knew how to grow their online presence.
For sure.
For
Do you have it
me
displayed
is-
somewhere?
Oh, go for it.
Just do you have it displayed somewhere, or what? Do you just keep it in your like Trezor or what? Like
In my wallet at the moment, but I'm going to be putting it in my conferences in DCL on the side.
nice. Like yeah, I've thought about that. You know, like you got the digital picture frames. Maybe that would be a way to display stuff, right? Or on the
Yeah.
big screen as a screensaver, right?
Yeah, I kind of see it as like a very digital world now. Like people are spending time on their mobile phones now. They'll spend their time, sorry for making the thing, but on their mobile phones, on their computers, on maybe Decentraland, maybe CryptoVoxes. A lot of people are just like staring at the screen, right? Not even, people don't even look at the walls anymore. So like, it makes sense to just display these in these areas where thousands of people are looking at. That's kind of like the new thing. Oh, gonna be the new thing.
That's fair. It's fair. Answering that question. So if we're considering like the most valuable in terms of like the economical part of that, definitely must be like some land here and there. But if it's like on the person level, is a piece of art is a droning actually of all digital. I think it's done like on the iPad. That is done like by this guy called Bruce the Goose, and it's basically like this droning of a girl done like on the iPad. And the reason why for me that's the most valuable thing, and I don't think I'm gonna sell that. I valuable wise, economical wise, we're really talking about like nothing in reality. It's a 0.2 ETH. Like it's very little and low per se. But basically, like I met the guy, he came like to our Discord. It was interesting in like all the smart company, the tokenization thing. We started talking. We literally spoke hours talking about like NFTs, digital art, and all of those things. And then when I like scroll like on his website and then on his OpenSea, I saw like literally the drawing, and I was like, that's nice. Like I don't know, but like it just like clicked. And so as soon as I saw that, I was like, I know that 99.9% I'm going to lose money on this because like I don't think that there is like a market or anything like that. But I don't care. I like it when I have it. Huh?
Would you have bought it if it was 20 ETH?
I can't afford that. That's the problem.
What about if it was 2 ETH?
Maybe yes, considering that I got rugged for 2 ETH a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I think 20. No, unfortunately, I cannot afford that. Like it's the same thing. Like even Vesa knows that. I tried to like spoke to Vesa because like I would love to buy a piece of his art, but I can't afford that. Like I'm honest on that. Like I can't play the game, unfortunately. One day, hopefully.
There is a limited edition piece that is available for 2 ETH that I put into the chat window. But if you make me an offer of 1 Ethereum on one of those, I'll accept it. I'll give you this offer online right now.
Done. Let's do it.
Cool.
Let's do it. Well. Send me the link. I'm doing that right now, immediately.
We're going to do it on our Wednesday show, Stefanos. We can purchase that as a.
What do you mean? But it say right now. I have to buy it now. It's a one-time offer.
Hang on, I discussed this with before we recorded, but don't get into a battle with me on price now, buddy.
No, but I when I interviewed
Jordan's going to come in with a better offer in a second.
When I interviewed Vesa and like the 5 other or 6 other artists that were there that day on the conference, and I was talking to them, I learned about their story so much, and I was like, damn, I want to buy like all of their art now. So for me, it was like, I know I had met them before, right? And maybe they have their own followings in the real life, but for me personally, I've never met them. So them telling that story for me, which not everyone's going to have that opportunity, but if you're on Twitter and thousands of people are going to your Twitter and reading and seeing that story evolve when they see that stuff, I think that's what brings like the attention.
Oh, I mean, look, for me, I've known Vesa for a number of years now, and I'd put him up there with Banksy. I mean, I'm dying to own some.
No, I love your art, man. I've been seeing it. Yeah.
Sorry, can I interrupt for a second?
Not if you're about to make a higher offer.
Well, that's exactly my question. How do I make a offer on? I never used known origin in my life, so how do I do?
Can I share my screen, Sean? You probably need to make me.
Yeah, sure. 1 second. Sorry.
Educational purpose.
Yeah, you should be good to go now.
Thank you. Share screen. Okay. So, have it open here. Can you guys see? This is on known origin. So if you, Stefano, can you see the art piece in front of you? Did you click the link that I sent you?
Yes. Here's the thing. I see that you have a nice bottom saying make an offer, but I don't have it on my screen. I have just like buy now on my screen.
I think it's because you have to log in with your MetaMask.
See,
For the save.
There you go. Yep. So I
this
just logged in
new
with my MetaMask.
technology called blockchain, you know.
And of course, this is, by the way, this is for everyone here in this panel right now. This is an exclusive offer that if you want to get this 2 ETH piece for
Well,
one
I think what we wanted to do is I buy it together for our Wednesday show.
Let's do that. Let's do
We'll have
that.
it as the
I'll wait.
hard piece. So if we Vess has obviously given us a very generous
What do you mean
donation.
buy together with the, well, do I just like buy that and then we sort it out later?
Yeah, do that.
Okay. Make an offer, 1 ETH.
This is an edition of 10. Let me tell you a little bit about the history of this one. Just even in the story, this was made with a renegade singer, actress, and stunt woman called Jessica in Finland, and she was body painted, and she's quite the character. And then it was made into this motion piece that is tokenized. And the very first version of this was given as 10,000 Vesa tokens for another artist called Anonymous Nobody. And basically, he got it, the very first version that was minted on Codex Protocol. And then here, very openly, I say that this is an edition of 9 that is available on known origin platform. And the first one was bought by Whale Shark for 2 Ethereum. So this is the story of it thus far. And now there will be still 8 left after Stefano goes through with this whole thing. But this is the thing with these pieces, is that they've required an actual physical production involving other human beings and photography and multi-layered painting and putting it all together then with software, of course. But I think that is one of the things that separates me from some other artists a little bit, is that there's a physical element that goes into these that are almost like they're photo shoots or film shoots or whatever they are. And hopefully this will also increase in people's awareness now that we're going to build this big studio, because the dream of it is, which is now coming into fruition, there's a whole big space that is kind of like Narnia, where you go and create these pieces and you see these pieces and you can live inside of the art, even in the physical world, where a lot of the other art is being created from. And then, of course, we're now in negotiations with a virtual reality company and a startup that we would have a virtual reality corner inside of this physical studio, so you can sit on a couch that is made from the art that is blending into the background that is made from the same art piece, and put on virtual reality goggles and then venture into the metaverse, into another reality entirely. So you can go through these portals back and forth and become art, buy art, be inside of art, and basically they have a whole total world immersed where you can jump from different realities to one another. And these are some of the very first ones I've ever tokenized. So it's a privilege to have you guys being a part of this whole thing. And
Awesome.
I'm never happy to
I finally own some Vesa.
talks with you guys. And this is my kudos to you, Sean. You've helped so much for me to get people to know about me, and we've become friends over the years, and I know how much trouble you've gone through in order to build HardForking, and it's incredible to be able to be a part of that journey. So thank you, brother.
Awesome, man. Fantastic. Excellent. So yeah, guys, we've been here for going on a couple of hours. I think you're almost out of time, aren't you, Vesa? You got to go and grab your vehicle.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if I can how to accept this offer, because now I have
that is on
make
you.
offer myself. Am I still sharing the screen, by the way?
Yeah,
John?
Yes.
you are.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think you'd want to.
Hop out of that. Sorry, I grabbed the screen from everyone for like ages. I didn't realize.
Hey Vesa, what that painting that you did with the big with like hundreds of different concepts in it? It was like this big green wave and all that. Is that a digital piece or what is that? Because I remember thinking it's really cool, and I was looking on Super Rare and all that, and I couldn't find it. So
Yeah,
Where
it's a
did it
digital piece made with the same technique, which is that there was parts of it was painted and photographed, and then photographic elements and all different sorts of Photoshop tricks, and we're actually with the guy who commissioned it, we're making it into a motion version as well. So it will be probably sold as a limited edition stills version, and then probably a one-off exclusive drop as the motion NFT, because it will require like such an amount of animation, and I just really need people which is why I also wanted to talk to you, Johnny, behind the scenes a little bit, if that's possible, about what kind of things you do with animation, because maybe we can collaborate on some stuff.
Yeah, we should. Totally. Yeah, I'm all into that. I mean,
Excellent.
I've done all kinds of animation, mostly character stuff, from the Gorillas to Ren and Stimpy, Metallica music video.
did you do the gorillas?
Yeah, I worked not the original stuff, but they did a VR video called Saturn's Bars.
Nice.
I don't know if you saw that one. It was like one of the first VR videos they put on YouTube. So it was a massive.
Out now.
Yeah, there was a massive production. So I went to London and worked on that for a couple of months. It was quite fun. But that was a big, huge production. And then within like 6 months of that, we landed a Metallica video, which was the exact opposite. But it was much more fun because it was just two of us. The budget was kind of shit, but we got to do whatever we wanted. We just went off. But the Gorillas is so determined, by Jamie Hewlett, who's like the designer, and he's got a very, 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 very specific thing that you have to do.
Is that Bangkok internet?
So
We lost him.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Both, good jobs, but one's a little bit more baking powder. Guys, you can't hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
I
Unfortunately,
think it's lagging a bit.
yeah, you froze up on us there.
Very cool to hear. I'm looking forward to learning what kind of stuff
Son of a.
you've been putting together in like visuals. This is really confusing for me. I can't seem to be able to accept the offer that you kindly made, Stefano. It just still gives me make an offer for the art piece.
I think you have to manage it in your profile. So in your profile, there'll be like a manage offers bit.
See, that's good that we have someone in the call that knows how to use all of this stuff.
I think
We've got the best crypto artist and the leading authority on NFTs doing a live purchase. It doesn't get any better than that, people.
Offers. Accept offer. Yay!
There we go. Moment in history.
there you
Winner.
go.
Awesome.
Fantastic. That's made my day and my week.
Thank you, Vesa.
Your transaction has been sent to the network.
We're going to wait only 25 days because Ethereum is very fast.
No way, man. It's lightning this last couple weeks.
Yeah, don't be
wrecked.
too happy about
You
that
guys
because
must-
I'm
Why,
waiting
you guys
for tomorrow or
stop
the
breeding
next day.
axes that you've unclogged the network.
Transaction confirmed. It is yours, good sir.
Fantastic.
I have it. I can see it.
It's going to be on our show tomorrow in the HardForking chest. Awesome.
I am extremely happy that I finally own a piece by Vesa. Thank you. Because it's been 3-4 months since the last time that I texted you about that. So I'm very, very happy of having that one.
Privileged to have you as a collector. This is very, very good stuff.
Indeed.
What do you guys think about right now it's not exactly easy and there's not a lot of avenues to mint, right? And the next wave here, it looks like is everybody's going to have a minter and everybody's going to be able to mint their own stuff. What do you what do you see with that? It's just going to be like a free for all. I think there's just going to be, everything's going to be an NFT. It's like, oh, look, I took a dick pic, NFT, tits, NFT.
Well,
like, everything's
that's wearable, right?
Yeah.
That's literally wearable right now because you can do anything.
Well, I mean, but there's more networks and there's more like, it's like YouTube, right? Like YouTube has the network effect, right?
Is that what Bonk are doing as well, Jordan?
Yeah, they've come up with their own minter, you know. There's a couple other applications doing them. There's like NFT staking, you know, they're tying the NFTs into DeFi, you know. So there's so many things happening and just like you can't keep up.
I think that is actually like a good thing in reality, because like it costs less to mint, which means that like one, more people are gonna do that. You're gonna have like rubbish. Yes, it's true. Like we had that when we first started having like the ICO waves or all the copycat on DeFi and so on. Like that happens all the time. Like it's always like a tsunami or like whatever things that comes in the space. But I think that is good because like it also gonna like by being cheap, it's also gonna be cheaper as an entry level for people that wants to learn about the NFT.
Yeah.
You know, if minting something costs you like $150, you're not gonna put that on sales for like $5 because you're making a loss of 145. So overall, I see that yes, there is going to be like more troubles distinguish between like a good and a bad thing, more research to be done. But overall, it's a step that is super important for the entire space in the NFT side. Personal opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, competition good, free market.
Absolutely. So, guys, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you all. Love to do it again in the future. Obviously, we're going to take part of this interview, cut it down to a shorter version for our Wednesday show. And Vesa, awesome to be covering you on the weekly now as part of that show.
This is really good news. And I also promised to ask you, Matty, is that these guys from Manchester with where we met the crypto art show that we did, I think they're wanting for you to become a narrator again for a new show, and it was being discussed in DM. So I promised that since we're on the same show, that I'll put you on the spot to try and get you back because you did such a fantastic job on it. So.
Do I have to answer that here, right now, right here? You know, I'd honestly love to, man, but it took so much out of me for 2 hours because it was like my nighttime, and UK times and Australian times are like so out of whack. And I've just, it's been very difficult for me to like juggle my personal life with like everyone asking me to help. And I'd love to help everyone, but I've had to say no and cut back a few things to like recalibrate and see like, all right, where do I actually want to spend my time doing stuff? So I actually told, I forgot his name. Are you talking about Bates Group? But yeah, I said I can't help with actually narrating, but I'll help promo and bring the people and anything I can on the side, maybe even intro the event. But I don't think I can do like a 2-hour session as much as I want to live. But I watch it again.
Thought they hadn't actually reached you, so I didn't know that you'd already had that conversation. My apologies, and I didn't know
it's okay. I just I answered just yesterday actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I'd love to. I learned so much about art. Like that was so insightful for me. I've never been exposed to the art industry that much before because I've never been to galleries and stuff, right? I've never been to the art scene before. So for me, it was a big eye opener. But yeah, just so much going on now. It's crazy.
Indeed. On that note, Matty, it's actually pretty late for you in Australia at the moment. So we really appreciate you joining us massively.
That's all right. I have another conference at 12.
Oh.
So I just... That's the thing, right? I just say yes to everything, and then I get no sleep, and it just like keeps going. So like that's why I need to like tune it back and start saying no to a few things, and then figure out like where I can actually allocate my.
Are you making a living sort of with what you do as a blogger in the space?
Yeah, I don't make a living from blogging. I make a living from the opportunities that come my way in the NFT space.
Yep.
So it's not so much a cash flow monthly, it's more like making those moves and knowing enough about the NFT scene and having a blog and a Twitter account. And those networks allow me to see these early, like where the trends are going and who's doing what. For example, I'm selling this land from Decentraland from this account holder who owns like 2,000 pieces of land. And he's giving me 5% commission for helping sell that land, which is like a lot of money. So, you know, if I were to do that even over a 2-year period, I'd be pretty good.
Right.
But that's just one thing that came from my Twitter. And apart from that, I buy and sell land, I buy and invest in art. And then, I mean, as long as I'm on the ball with NFTs and I don't make stupid moves, I should be okay.
Okay. Any suggestion? I don't know whether you've had a look at the show that I do with the guys on Wednesdays, where we sort of review crypto and blockchain projects. Obviously, it's fantastic. We've got Axie on there now. Obviously, fantastic to have a piece of art from Vesa as part of the show. But any other sort of suggestions of good projects you think be interesting for an audience for us to review? I think,
there's definitely a lot of ones. I would do those that have been in the space for 2+ years, because that means that, they're established, they're making sure they keep providing value, they're growing. It's not one of those ones that are 2 months old, 3 months old that can vanish once they raise $1 million. So, Crypto Voxels, Decentraland, Somnium Space, which is a VR land thing, Gods Unchained card game that's been around for 2 years that I think is going to be really big. They got Chris Clay from Magic the Gathering as the game designer. Man, I can give you a list.
Even better yet, an introduction to some of them where it's anyone that you think would be keen, that'd be great.
You want for them to jump on the show with you and go through the project?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Right. Some of these teams are just kind of indie teams, like Crypto Voxels is just Ben and a couple of people. So it's hard to grab them. But I think those that have like those marketing resources should be.
Cool. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for your time. Vesa, I don't know, did you want to have a chat with Johnny after this call, or are you rushing off? What's your schedule?
I'd love to have a chat with Johnny for sure, and also somehow find a way to connect with you, Matty, if that's possible. And if I may just plug artforcrypto.com.
Yeah, well, what I was going to say is I'll just do a bit, so I've got an end of the shows, so to speak, for the edit, and then we can just stay online and chat for however long whoever wants to stay around for. So sure. Vesa. So sort of closing comments from you. You're up to a hell of a lot at the moment. Anything else you want the audience to know about? Let us know.
It's just this, maybe it's already come through in a variety of ways, but it's kind of this integral approach to things. Maybe as a closing thing is that what I try to do with this and keep evolving with the digital pyramid that we talked in the prior show with you and Stefano so it's this. If you think of the traditional gallery model, is that you have these white walls and a little bit of an elitist attitude, and if you have really substantial art, it's kind of how much it costs and how intimidating it is to go somewhere like that. And what this artists making their own tokens, like I've done this thing, 10 million Vesa, to incentivize people to keep going back into the pyramid for these treasure hunts to get Vesa so they can get NFTs, find a variety of different content from the videos that I make about the substance of the art, as well as the art that can then be sold, and then find about the whole world view, and you can access it from your own home and gamify the whole platform so that it keeps you kind of having you be interested in participating in a world that is happening both in the physical realm as well as the metaverse at the same time, and they all blend into one another in some sort of a way, so that the art truly can become from this elitist cold thing that is even in part because of these major philosophies like postmodernism and everything. It's become quite unsensical and even irrelevant to so many different people's lives. So with regards to projects like what we're doing with Brittany, is that big data and the strip mining of our data and all of those different kinds of manipulations that went on behind the scenes that art can bring to the surface, help us process and have people involved who are very much in the consciousness of the public, so that we bridge the gap, also going that the art and the artists, they go and grab people's attention on the outside of their own bubbles to make art just an actual relevant segment of people's lives. Whether you're a plumber, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a high net worth individual, is that there's something in it that gives some sort of a contribution to your life, some sort of an elevating factor that comes and illuminates your world somehow, as opposed to cubes and twists and whatever, is that there's something that allows your heart to open to see the world in a different kind of way. I think this is something that we've lost a little bit in art, and I'm hell-bent on bringing back on a form of another. And I think there are incredible other artists doing similar projects. And I think this is the mission, and this is why it's so valuable that people like yourselves help this become something, because it needs to go from something that is irrelevant bullshit back into tangible, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, sir. Absolutely well said.
Rant over.
Matty, we'll put links below for people to follow you, but any closing comments from yourself?
No, not much. I hope you guys learned a lot. I learned a lot talking to yous. And, if you're watching the NFT space, whoever's going to watch this, take your time learning, surround yourself with the right people, and don't jump into anything just because someone said to jump in. Make sure you do your due diligence. Don't worry about missing the boat. There's going to be, this industry is, day one of hopefully a century-long, journey. So there's so much that can be had. There's going to be opportunities everywhere. So take your time and follow me on Twitter, DCLblogger.com, DCLblogger.eth. But I don't even know my handle. I think it's just DCLblogger, actually.
All the links are below. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So anyway, good luck, and I hope everyone has a lot of fun in the NFT industry. It's really a space for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Stefano and Johnny, thanks once again for your time. We'll obviously all be back tomorrow for our 1 Bitcoin and 32 ETH show. We'll be reviewing a number of projects and obviously having a closer look at Vesa and what he's doing, and the art scene and NFT scene. So Johnny, Stefano, just a very quick comment from you before we go.
Sure. Closing in the same way that I start, like both of you, thank you so much. Really, Vesa, keep up the good work. And Matty, please don't stop this 2 minutes recap
day,
of what
man.
is happening. I love
Every
that.
day.
Like they're super helpful.
Thank you.
Really, thank you for what you two are doing for the industry. It's
My
absolutely
pleasure. No, thanks for everyone's support. So I will definitely keep it.
Over to you, Mr. Gonzo.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, guys. Learned a lot. I'm kind of like, I got a million different hats. NFTs is one of them. So you guys brought a little bit of enlightenment for me, and a couple ideas, sparked some ideas. So hopefully I can implement them and turn it into something.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks.
And thank you very much, audience. We will see you all again tomorrow. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.